Hi, and welcome to the Temple of Her. Welcome to a series that I'm doing on just what it means to be a well-fed woman, what it means to be rooted in radiance, what it means to tend to your feminine and female physiology. And there's just so much bullshit and dogma and propaganda and forgetting how to feed ourselves. And it seems so ridiculous that we have so many self-help books to remember how to feed ourselves, remember how to breathe, remember how to move our body. Like we have this wisdom inside of us, but we've forgotten it. And so the series I'm doing is called Rooted in Radiance, and it's just coming back to the wisdom of our body, learning how to feed ourselves, learning how to tend to our female physiology, and just talking about diet culture among women and the fears that we have, the fears that women have around building healthy relationships with food. And just this understanding, knowing how to actually feed ourselves. A lot of us don't. We're not taught. A lot of us order in food. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, my mom worked like 60 hours a week, and she would just pick up food on her way home from work, and we just ate out every night. I didn't really know how to feed myself. I was inspired by this topic because this week I've been alone. My partner's away, and usually we eat every meal together. And so I'm always cooking with him in mind. And I like to put on a show. But there's this concept of girl dinner, when girls are alone, we don't like to usually eat meals. We have little snacks. We don't need to eat that much, right? We're just girls. We've been trained to believe that we don't need to eat very much, and we've been trained to believe that we should minimize calories. All the media and marketing is trying to sell us things with reduced calories, low calories, which is when we're hunter-gatherers, we wanted the most calorie-rich food. So here today, I'm just gonna kind of put to rest this dogma and diet culture and talk about how to nourish ourselves with calorie-rich food, mineral-rich food, and how to just honor our hunger, how to eat enough, how to come back to our body, and how to really learn how to honor our body through feeding ourselves. I heard a quote recently, which was working with the feminine is like tending a piece of land. The work we do is done day by day in sustainable ways that builds upon itself and changes the entire landscape. It's not just one thing you're going to do. It's not one cleanse or one diet or one fad. But we need to be resourced. So coming back to our body and feeding our body and getting enough. Now, I heard a quote recently that said, working with the feminine is like tending to a piece of land. It's work done day by day in a sustainable way that builds upon itself and changes the entire landscape. And it's never going to be just one fast or one cleanse or one diet that's going to save us, right? It's the small little changes that we make day by day, and we need to be resourced. We need to not be running on caffeine and stress hormones. When we don't have enough nourishment or glucose or carbs or fat, we don't have the basics for cellular energy production. And so many of us are addicted to stress hormones. Like we get energy when we produce stress hormones. But it's also why so many women have unbalanced cycles and PMS and PPMD and PCOS. Because so many of us are relying on stress hormones, and that alters our physiology. So I advocate for a pro-metabolic, animal-based lifestyle. That's really we should be eating for our physiology. And there's this typical kind of girl breakfast where we eat green juices or we eat smoothies or a piece of toast or we skip breakfast altogether. I'm in a Spanish class right now, and there's a woman that comes to Spanish class, and every day she has a coffee and she says, I never eat breakfast. And that's just so normalized that we just don't eat breakfast. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day, especially for women. We need to be eating nutrient-dense breakfasts, and we need to be getting protein at breakfast. So as soon as we wake up, we have a surge of cortisol. And cortisol is important, right? It's what gets us up in the morning. It's what gets us moving. But we don't want to have excess cortisol. And as soon as we don't eat in the morning, or we drink coffee, or we fast, intermittent fasting has become quite popular, we start to produce more cortisol. Our body goes into survival mode. And to wake up and feed ourselves is really important because it tells our body you're safe. You don't need to produce stress hormones because you're safe. You're fed, you're nourished. And it's really important for women to root into that. Like women generally feel stressed out, I think, in the modern world. And so just feeding themselves 3 times a day tells our body that it's safe. Another thing that I've been, it's really important that women eat a lot of protein, especially as women get older. Our muscle mass tends to deteriorate. And what's recommended is at least 100 grams of protein a day. And I don't count calories. That's not something I do, but I have been bringing some awareness to protein. And if you think about it, protein is 100 grams of protein a day. There's 6 grams in 1 egg. So if you were to be getting 100 grams of protein, you'd have to be eating 18 eggs a day. I eat 3 eggs in the morning, sometimes 4, and that's a lot of eggs. But I'm not getting enough protein, and it's just this belief that I don't need that much meat, I don't need that much protein. I can go meals without eating meat, but really that's not what my body wants. We burn through carbs really quickly, right? But protein and fats help us sustain our blood sugar. They're more complex, right? We don't want to be eating carbs that by themselves. We need that protein and fat to balance it out. So we think that we're doing the healthy thing because we want to stay in shape or be skinny, so we don't eat a lot, but eating is really important, and having a strong metabolism is really important for how we absorb and digest food, right? If you have a weak metabolism, you're not going to actually get as much out of your food as you could, right? Metabolism is all the acids, the stomach acids and the enzymes that break down your food and actually take up the nutrients from food. And if you don't have a strong metabolism, you're not actually getting that much from your food.
Emily, did you say 100 grams a day?
At least 100. My goal right now is around 125, but if I get 100, I'm like, okay, I'm good. But I mean, for example, 1 chicken thigh is 20 grams.
Okay.
So you'd have to eat 5 chicken thighs a day to get 100 grams of protein. Which is a lot. I just don't think we have any gauge.
Where did you get the information that we, if we were to go back to our natural systems, we would be absorbing that much protein?
It's more just they've studied women that want to put on muscle mass, and I don't want to lose any muscle mass. I'm trying to gain muscle mass. If you want to gain muscle, you need to be eating at least 100 grams of protein, or else your body is just breaking even with anything less. I mean, everyone is a little bit different, but that's what my goal is at least 100 grams a day. And I don't count calories, and I'm much more like an intuitive eater, and I trust my instincts and what my body wants. But I've just been looking into protein recently. and just to get a grip on actually how much protein I'm actually eating in a day. Mm-hmm. I think there's also this belief that fat makes us fat, that I even still hold on to. But fat is so important. All of our fat soluble vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin E, we need to get those from fat. Another thing is that in 1 gram of fat, we get 40 times more energy if we have a healthy metabolism than we do from 1 gram of carbs. So like we want to be making energy. We want to have energy to be able to do the things that we want to do in our life. And if we're just not eating enough, we won't have that. And we start to siphon from, our deeper mineral stores. If we're not actually getting nutrients from our food or enough nutrients from our food, our body starts to scavenge, right? It starts to go into our mineral reserves. So it's really important that we're eating enough to feed our functions every day. We need energy, right? We need to eat enough. And when we don't, we go into survival mode. And there's a difference between, surviving and thriving. And so we get into this kind of stress starvation loop where we get hangry, and our stress hormones activate, or we're fasting and we're not eating breakfast, or we're over exercising. And when we start producing cortisol and stress hormones, we go into survival mode and our body starts to store fat around our stomach, right around our organs. So women think that they're overweight, but they're actually not eating enough. So the body's holding the weight. Whereas if we're eating enough and we have a strong metabolism, then we actually burn through it, right? We can actually utilize the calories instead of storing it as fat.
Because the body's going, sorry to just confirm. So the body's going into, it's coming out of survival mode. So it's going into survival mode. Anything that you give it, it stores it into fat because it's in that survival stress mode.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes
So if you're eating regularly, you tell the body, you can use this, right? When there's in Ayurveda, they call it Agni, which is like your digestive fire. But it's also just your enzymes and your stomach acids, they're primed, right? They're primed to be working. But you have to be eating every 3 to 4 hours or else they start to die down, right? So you wake up in the morning and you need to light that fire. You need to light that digestive fire. So it's really important to wake up in the morning and eat something because it gets your digestive fire going. And then once your digestive fire is going, it can start pumping, it can start eating, it can start consuming, it can actually take the nutrients from the food that you're giving it. Whereas if we, wait 3 hours before eating, our digestive fire is gone. Our stress hormones are activated and our body goes into survival mode. Are you thinking you got to go eat something because you just woke up?
I was actually, but I'll lie on the floor. But I was literally just thinking I should go. I really want to go eat something.
You're welcome to get off camera and eat something. But it's really, really important to have a healthy metabolism. We should be waking up hungry. Your appetite should be strong because when it's strong, we absorb the nutrients better. You should be eating every 3 to 4 hours. I was with my mom and my grandma recently, and they don't eat until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they wake up in the morning and they smoke cigarettes and they drink coffee. And those are appetite suppressants. And I think women in particular want to suppress their appetites. We think that we don't need to eat that much, and we think that more calories in means that we're going to put on weight, or that the less we eat, the skinnier we'll be, the more, more attractive we'll be. We have all of these beliefs around food. But again, if we're not eating enough, our bodies go into survival modes. So strong metabolism, waking up hungry, a strong libido, regular bowel movements. These are all really important markers of health and being a healthy woman. Regulated body temperature. Are you cold all of the time? Do you get cold all of the time? It's a sign that your metabolism isn't working well. Something that I really struggle with is insomnia. I have a really hard time sleeping and staying asleep. And that's like the one I have regular bowel movements. My body temperature is very regulated. I eat, I have a strong metabolism, but my sleep is my one area in my life that I really need to focus some attention on. But I really want to get away from this low calorie bullshit. We want calorie rich foods. We want mineral rich foods. There's such a heavy fear of cholesterol, but we need cholesterol. We want to be eating for our biology, not our ideology. We want to be eating for our biology, and like our ancestors, they ate for their biology. And I really promote a pro-metabolic approach to health. So this means that I approach health in a way that prioritizes metabolic function, which means like our cells are strong, they're functioning, they're making energy production. We're able to make energy at a cellular level. It means that we're able to digest foods easily. We nourish the body with easily digestible foods, nutrient-dense foods. We eat for our hormones and we reduce our stress. Nutrient-dense foods just means bioavailable foods. So for example, when you eat a bag of carrots, your body can get vitamin A from those carrots, but it has to go through a 12-step process to get the vitamin A. When you eat, so you could get the equivalent of a tablespoon of cod liver oil, or like a nutrient-dense fat, like a salmon oil or fatty fish. You get vitamin A in the form that your body needs. You get it in retinol. Whereas when you eat carrots, your body has to transform it into retinol through a 12-step process. So your body has to use energy in order to absorb the nutrients from the food. Whereas when we eat animal foods, a lot of the time in nutrient-dense foods, it's already in the form that our body needs it in. So it doesn't have to work extra to absorb it. You can eat foods that give you more nutrients with less energy exerted. That's why I'm such a proponent of animal foods, is because they do the work for us. We can't eat grass. We can't get the benefit from grass that we do from a steak, right? Cows turn grass into steak because they have 4 stomachs and hundreds of thousands of bacteria that break down that grass and turn it into protein. But we don't have that ability, so we need to eat meat to get that protein. Last week, we talked a little bit about recovering feminism, and that we're kind of indoctrinated in this dogma of feminism. I also am a recovering vegan. I was in that world of veganism and vegetarianism for a long time, and I believed that I was doing the right thing. And we always want to do the right thing, and there's so much wrong with the world that we don't want to see death on our plate. Right? We don't want to see death on our plate. We want to feel good about what we're eating. And so we think that we're doing the right thing by removing this from our diet, but it's actually disconnecting us further from nature. We're trying to save the earth by not consuming meat, but it's disconnecting us from her. It's disconnecting us from our connection to the land. And there's so many beliefs and agendas at play being pushed here that tell us to stop eating meat, that promote lab-grown meat and promote veganism and fake meat. And there's no such thing, as a healthy
milks. When you look at milk,
it's
different stuff that are put in the milks.
Don't even get me started with the milks. You can't call alternative milks. They're not milk, they're juice. It's not juice. It's not nut milk. There is almost no fat. It's in like oat milk and nut milk and almond milk and soy milk. Like, it's not a replacement. To get that fat that you get from cream, to get the fat that you get from milk, like there's no, it's more just like
beneficial. It's more like it's again for convenience. It doesn't actually have any nutrients in it. You might as well have a bowl of oats rather than, like, I love oat milk and I still drink oat milk. But Like I drank it for a long time, and it all started to do with my it started to mess up my gut,
Mm-hmm.
like because of that. And it's for me, it's created it's created for the people and marketed. It's not actually healthy and good for us if you look into it.
Uh-huh.
It's just like it's an escapism. It's a way to escape the problem.
Mm-hmm. And it's
It's a way
convenient.
for people to think they're doing a better thing
Uh-huh.
when they're, to convince them that they're saving the planet and they're helping the planet. And it just makes it more messed up. Like it's soy. I found out soy, the manufacture of soy.
Oh my God, all of it. All of it.
I
And
found out it's an it's so disgusting. And they bleach it. They get this sludge. They get the sludge from the soy because they break the soy down. It becomes this brown sludge, and then they bleach it to make it white.
ugh. I mean, the whole manufacturing of alternative milks, all of these milks go rancid really quickly. All of them have a lot of sugar in them. So our body burns it up like that. It doesn't actually provide you with sustaining energy. They don't have any of the fat soluble vitamins in it. It's mostly just carbs and
Mm,
polyunsaturated fats. And they're huge production. They're huge, huge, huge production. Like the actual processing of all of these things is like super refined. And then it sits on the shelf for ages. It never goes bad, right? Whereas like milk just comes from the udder of a cow and gets put in a bottle and you drink it and it's just one ingredient. And like I feel like so much we've been trained to believe that we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing for our body. We're doing the right thing for the land. We're doing the right thing from the earth, but it's actually just disconnecting us further. We don't know where
from
any
the
of
earth,
our
yeah.
we don't know where any of our food is coming from. It's a lot of it's being processed in plants. A lot of it's super highly processed. It doesn't have any of the nutritional value in it. And there's no such thing as getting away from harm. Even if you're drinking soy milk, there's ecosystems and habitats that were destructed to put in those soy plantations. So there is
Yeah.
death, no matter where you slice it. There is loss. And to live is to consume. Like we have to consume. We have we have to take in the energy of other things, whether that be plant foods or animal foods, but we need to
Mm.
destroy in order to survive. Like we need to consume. And so I really advocate for being part of that process. We don't want to see death on our plate, so we eat animal foods or we eat plant foods, but it's not actually giving us the energy that we need. And like, what sacrifice are we willing to make?
And can we live sustainably? I think because yes, death, like it's a cycle, but then we
Yeah.
have to put like we need to take to be able to nourish ourselves. But can we take and then give and then take, or receive and then give and then receive? I think receiving or taking, yeah, receiving and then giving and receiving and giving.
And it's
Like
it's
whatever
part of the
food we
reason
take out, we
why
put back in.
it's part of the reason why I give my blood back to the earth. My body puts so much energy to produce that uterine lining. It's ridiculous how much energy that the female body puts into bleeding every month. Like that whole process is very energy intensive. And there's a lot of nourishment and nutrition in your blood. And so I give it back to the earth because it's the one thing that I have. Other than, my urine and my feces, which is a whole other topic, but it's something
Mm.
that I have to give back. And I always compost and I do my best to give back to the earth, but I have to consume. And when I die, I will compost back into the earth. And this is where I want to bring in minerals because minerals are so important and they're the spark plugs of life, right? They're what give everything life, but minerals never die. They're never born and they never die, right? Minerals are the primal material from which everything on earth is built. But they're never born and they never die. They just cycle through different forms of life. They go through this process of organic birth and decay. But, you know, the minerals come from the earth, they come from the rocks and the soils and the sediments, and they go into the soil, and then they go into the plants, and then they go into the cow that ate the plants, and then we eat the steak, and it goes into our body. And then when we die, it goes back into the earth. And it's just this beautiful cycle of life and death and decay and rebirth. And these are the fundamental building blocks from which everything on earth is built. So it's poetic to say that we come from Mother Earth and we are the creation of her, but we actually are. No, it's poetic, but it's also true. You know, we come from her substance. And we're just constantly cycling and circulating in these death, decay, and rebirth success cycles. And we can't eat rocks, but we can eat what eats rocks. You know, we can eat the green bodies of plants and we can eat the bodies of animals. But minerals are like the currency of the soil. They're the currency of our body. And it's a web. And when we eat mineral-rich foods, we nourish our body and we can show up more fully in ourselves. We can feel safe in ourselves. We can make hunger holy. We can make feeding ourselves divine. But it first starts with getting all of these beliefs out of our system that fat makes us fat, that cholesterol is bad, that we need to eat plant-based foods. You know, there's just so many deep-seated beliefs, and I have them in myself. You know, but I just went on a spiritual diet where I cut red meat. I cut a whole bunch of things out. I cut sex out of my life, salt out of my life, sugar out of my life, red meat out of my life. And in the last 6 months, I brought it all back. And it was so amazing to just feel the first time I ate red meat, like every cell in my body was vibrating. It was like something so, like I was almost shaking as I was like eating this lamb shank, eating the lamb off the bone. My whole body was vibrating and there was like a remembrance that came back in me of like, oh, this is a primal instinct. This is like the wisdom of my ancestors. I've been doing this for thousands of years. You know, my body knows what to do with this food. And there's just like a sacredness in our hunger and a remembering in our hunger. You know, and learning how to feed yourself and learning how to listen to those hunger cues and just reclaim your appetite, reclaim your libido, reclaim your hunger for life. And I think a lot of women are afraid to be hungry and to be ravenous and to eat. You know? And I really think it's what the world needs right now is like more women that feed themselves fully. You know, there's so many women that struggle with anorexia and bulimia and over exercising and under eating. And that's like the root of a lot of women that have fertility issues and hormonal issues and issues with their cycle is because their body is in survival mode. And it's always going to prioritize survival over reproduction. So our reproductive organs are the first things that go. But if we start to feed ourselves, like properly nourish ourselves, then all of that comes back online. We start attuning to this frequency of fertility. We start remembering what it means to be in your body and to feed your body. And I think a lot of women too, we restrict our food and we don't eat and then we gorge on processed foods. You know, we won't eat at home and then we'll be out and about and we'll get so hungry and we'll need to eat something right away, right? And then we eat something bad. You know, and I'm guilty of it, I'm a victim of it, but we really need to just start cooking. And so many women don't have time to cook and they don't make time to cook. But like if we're eating big breakfasts, if we're eating nutrient dense foods, you know, fat isn't bad, but if you go and get deep fried chicken wings and French fries, that's not going to serve you. No, that's not what your body actually wants, but you've just gotten to this plate where you're, so ravenous that you need to put something in your body.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the fats. The fats aren't bad, but it depends on the fat that you're taking in.
So I
I think
always
that's
say,
the most important.
the fats that I recommend are fats that are solid at room temperature, right? So
Oh.
butter. Butter is solid at room temperature. Tallow, beef fat, is solid at room temperature. But canola oil. The one thing, coconut oil is something that I do use. Olive oil I use
Yeah.
as well, and that's not solid at room temperature. But any of your seed oils, your canola oil, your corn oil, your sunflower oil, those have no nutritional value in it. And they actually come from, they were originally
Really
used
hard to process.
They were used initially as lubricant in the war. That's where they come from. That's the origin place of these oils. They were machine lubricants that as soon as the war ended, there were all these manufacturing facilities for this oil that they started marketing it to us. Right? And so that's like, you need to understand where the origin of these things. Same with pesticides and herbicides. They were chemical compounds that were used in the war initially, that then there was all this manufacturing for it and it needed to get put somewhere. And so they found other resources. So a few things just about feminine and female physiology is like big breakfasts, getting enough protein. I'm not anti-coffee, but I'm very selective about how I drink coffee. I always drink coffee after I eat breakfast. I never have coffee on an empty stomach. Again, it's this cortisol thing. Coffee raises our cortisol levels. So if we're already in the morning, we already have cortisol pumping through our veins. And cortisol isn't always a bad thing, it's just in excess. But if we don't eat and then we drink coffee, that's going to spike our cortisol, right? And then the same survival instinct happens. So no coffee on an empty stomach. I also recommend drinking coffee with a fat, so cream or milk or coconut milk, even sugar. I'm not anti-sugar. We shouldn't be eating naked carbs. We always want to have a protein or a fat with our food. And so these are just like really simple things that we can bring into our life, Don't eat, I don't
Did you
drink
say
coffee. Go ahead.
you said sorry, did you say having a fat with the coffee?
Yeah, it helps our body just absorb the antioxidants in coffee better. And it sedates our body so much so that we don't get as intense cortisol spikes because we're nourishing our body at the same time. So I don't recommend like black coffee on an empty stomach is just about the worst thing you can do for your adrenals and for your stress hormones, right? That's going to signal
Yeah.
to the body you're in trouble.
Could I share something, and you can keep this in the recording or not?
Yeah.
So with my bleed this month, so it was going really, really well. I had a really good kind of like start, and the second day was really good. Third day, I didn't sleep a lot. I only
Mm-hmm.
had about 3 hours sleep
Yeah.
because that day was heavy, and I didn't really want to like. I wanted to be awake for the process of me bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I didn't want to be sleeping for the process of me
Didn't want
bleeding.
to
So,
miss it.
pardon?
Didn't want to miss it.
Well, it's kind of, but it's more like also I'm like I'm still shedding and I'm still I didn't want to miss it. Actually, it was that, and I like sat in the bath and I just let it come out the way, and I just stayed with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I either think all of it came out then, but then my third day, usually my third day is the heaviest, and there was like
Nothing.
barely anything.
Mm-hmm.
Not nothing, but like just very little. So I either let everything go then, or lack of sleep. And I had a black coffee in the
Mm-hmm.
morning when I had woken up because I had lack of sleep and I had stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I think that like now you're explaining this to me, I really think I must have shut it off. Like the
Mm-hmm.
progesterone stopped being produced completely. And then
Uh-huh.
since then, it's just been like flat almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like shocked me because it felt so good at the beginning. I felt like I was releasing so much. My body, I felt really in tune with my body. And then something like, you know, like it was something that
Flip the
like I
switch.
noticed it was different. I noticed it was different. I was like, this shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel good. Like this doesn't feel good. This feels like
Uh-huh.
there's still stuff in there and it hasn't been able to come out.
Uh-huh.
Not because I'm not allowing it to be released, because I'm giving it the space to be released,
Mm-hmm.
but physiologically something's
Physiologically.
going on in my body. So stress levels,
Uh-huh.
yes, stress levels, sleep, and coffee, I think were
Mm-hmm.
the things that like completely turned it off.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's for me so upsetting and so sad.
I know, but you don't
I'm
know
like,
what you
over
don't
time.
know, right? We live and we learn. We live and we learn, and there's always next month, right? There's
Yeah.
always, and you will know, like,
It's gonna be better.
as soon as your bleed comes around next month, if there's, dark, really thick blood, you know that you didn't release everything from the month before, and it probably is lack of progesterone. So you can just do better next month. You can just know that during my luteal phase, I'm not going to drink any coffee, or during my luteal phase, I'm going to make sure I drink breakfast before I make sure I eat breakfast before I drink coffee, because that's what
Yeah.
my stress levels want and my progesterone wants. And yeah, I mean, the first things that steal your progesterone are, black coffee, lack of sleep, and under eating. Those are like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wrote down what you said was like to increase progesterone, protein, no caffeine, consistent sleep, fiber, potassium, no sugar,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
no intense exercise.
Over exercising either. Over exercising, doing a lot of cardio can really hinder your progesterone, but just stress management techniques. And when I was really struggling with hormonal imbalance, it was like, okay, Emily, what are things that I can do in my life that can just minimize the amount of stress? And I started restricting myself from certain things. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't go out after 7 o'clock in the evening. I would just put all these boundaries on myself because I was like, my sleep is the most important thing in my life right now.
Mm,
The intense exercise was too stressed. My body was too overstimulated. It was too. Exercise can be really good. Stress can be really good in
mm.
as soon as I kind of like to think of it as a bucket, right? We put stress in the bucket, and as soon as that bucket starts to overflow, then we have a problem, right? And so figuring out like, if I'm gonna add this stress in, I have to take this one out. But lots of fat, lots of protein is really good for your progesterone. Cutting down on coffee,
Um,
definitely on the second half of your cycle. Like I ovulated yesterday-ish, and I had my last coffee today. I probably won't drink coffee again until my follicular, maybe one coffee, but I will definitely slow down on coffee quite a lot.
when would you say if we did want to have some coffee? Because I'm not addicted to it. I like the taste of it. And sometimes, yeah, when would you say on your cycle would be a good time to be like,
I
okay, yeah, I'm
I love coffee.
allowing myself.
I love coffee. I think it's such a beautiful medicine. And I was a barista for years. My family owns a coffee company in Canada. And they're the largest organic, ethically produced coffee. I have such an admiration and respect for coffee. But I think a lot of people are already living off of stress hormones a lot of the time, and it only exacerbates.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
addiction to coffee of like, are you using coffee to give you energy? This is the question that I really come down to. It's like, do you wake up in the morning and you feel groggy and you're like, I'm going to have a coffee so I can jumpstart my day? If you're doing that, you don't have a very healthy relationship with coffee. My relationship with coffee that I've spent a lot of time cultivating is there's like this energy in my follicular phase sometimes where I'm like, wow, I feel so productive. I feel so energized. I feel like I can do anything today. And it's on those days where I'm like, let's use coffee to elevate this.
Wow.
I feel so energized and good that I'm actually going to like take this energy and work with coffee. Right? Coffee's not giving me energy. It's just amplifying the energy that's already there. And so,
See, that's crazy. That's crazy. I would do it on the opposite. Like, because I already have so much energy, why would I need a coffee? you know, because I'm in a follicular phase, I'm gonna make it worse, almost like, but
Well, this is the thing too. It's like I don't want to show up the same every day. I'm not going to be consistent every day. I'm not going to get the same amount of shit done every day. There's going to be days when I knock it out of the park and I'm so productive. And then there's going to be days where I barely, barely get one thing off my to-do list. And that's just how I function, right? And that's if I live to those ebbs and flows,
natural.
then there's a reason why we have summer and winter. We're a lot less, nature is just a lot less productive in the wintertime. We have seasons left fallow where there's not much going on the surface, but we're regenerating under the soil.
A quick question.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wanting to make some food as you're talking about this. Would you like me to switch my video off?
No, I'm actually happy if we want to just wrap up. I feel,
Okay.
yeah, I feel like
Okay.
I'm gonna do a 4-part series on this, exploring different aspects of just how to be rooted in radiance and feed the female body and just tend to it. And
Okay.
this is probably my biggest passion. So I want to like really flush it out and dive into it. So this is just part 1. And yeah, I hope that you got something out of
I'm
it.
really excited.
Mm-hmm.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, really excited for this because I've never learned it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you talk about, I've never learned. Like
Mm-hmm.
even our cycle, like, I mean, there's parts of that I remember learning in biology. Like I remember learning a lot about hormones and like what happens during pregnancy and all this kind of stuff. But food is one of the biggest things, which like there's so much information out there. How do you know what's good for you as a woman? And as a woman when she's on her bleed, as opposed to when she's not on her bleed, or when she's in different phases of her cycle. Because then if we can connect back to us, like what kind of food should we be eating in different phases? What kind of things is our body actually craving? And then once we can logically understand it, I think that's when we can become aware of it. And then with awareness, we then become more in tune. And then with more in tuneness, it starts to become, a lot more based on intuition, and it's natural and it's flowing. But I want to do things with knowledge, like I want to. So for me, this is like, yeah, it's magical.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If I could share it again as well. I did a fast. I was feeling like I was in the middle of change. So I've left my home down in Kangaroo Valley and the home and the community that I created, because my visa's coming to an end in October, and I needed to come back up to the Northern Rivers because I decided if I want to be anywhere for a year, I can't see myself in Kangaroo Valley for a year, but I can see myself in the Northern Rivers because I know I'm going to be supported by a community of like-minded people on my path, similar-ish age as well. Like that more and more means a lot to me because there's a path, there's a generational thing as well. Whereas like I was in Kangaroo Valley, I was stuck with an older generation. Like they're all in the mindset of they're not in a future. They're not thinking, what is the world that we can create? They're thinking, this is the world that we're in and we just have to accept it. And I'm kind of like, I'm done with the accepting. And I'm in the, I'm youthful. I have hopes. I have dreams. I have energy. And so I'm going, well, it's beautiful to just sit, but I have this energy and I'm not going to have it when I'm 50. I want to use it now and put myself in, change life. So I've left and I basically come up here, and I was in a place of like really feeling like I needed to come back into myself and come back into my center.
Yeah.
So I did a bone broth fast for 4 days.
Yeah.
Not extremely long, but it was just so centering, and I was in nature the whole time, and I was so able to tell people my boundaries and what I wanted and what I didn't. And I also recognized I was super addicted to sugar. And I'm wanting to detoxify myself from sugar. So now I'm introducing sugar again back in, and I'll get there. But basically, I've never cooked myself cooked breakfast, like protein-filled breakfast. I've always had like breakfast with yogurt and fruit and quite sweet breakfasts, so never salty breakfasts. And Bianca actually was the first one to introduce salty breakfast to me. My whole life, I've never had salty breakfast. I grew up as a child with
Amazing.
cereal and toast, and like so cereal and milk as a child, and then or pancakes and porridge, you know. And then as a teenager, I would just have like toast in the morning and tea. I'd have toast and tea before I went to school, but with like no eggs, you know. It was like with jam, you know, or with just butter. Um, which wasn't, you know, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't the best for my body either. Um, and so then now I've just cut out all sugar breakfast, and I've been having these big nutritious breakfasts full of like kale, spinach, eggs, tofu, um, ginger, turmeric, putting bone broth in there too. I've been having like, and then for dinner I've been having soups. So having these like more things that will ignite the fire in my stomach, and then at nighttime not so it doesn't take so it's not so hard for my body to digest it. So they're
Yeah.
more like soups and things. Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
Game changer.
Whoa. Whoa.
Absolute game changer. It's just
Whoa.
a complete game changer, and we're not taught it. You know, we're taught to eat cereal, which is just a huge carb load. We have a sugar crash, right? And then we
Yeah.
get hungry
Yeah.
within a few hours, and then we tend to, you know, when we eat meals that are really nutrient dense, it gives us lasting energy. And so my one thing about fasting that I will say is that I do think fasting is really good medicine. And it's this beautiful, like hollowing out time. It's kind of similar to our moon time of like, it's a time of letting go and resting and allowing our body to just feel really empty, and
Yes.
the spiritual reset,
Yeah.
a sacred pause. But again, we have to survey our stress levels, right? So fasting puts our body in survival mode, in the same way that
Yeah.
if we wake up and we don't eat, our cortisol raises. And so my recommendation with fasting is not to do it in your luteal phase, because you're more susceptible to stress, right? Again, that pregnenolone. So you always want to fast with your follicular. If you're trying to conceive, never fast when you're ovulating. Or if you care about fertility, because they can mess up your ovulatory cycle. And I do like to fast at the end of my bleed. There's this really beautiful kind of like hollowing out, where the veil between the veil to God is thinner in my bleed, and the veil when you're fasting gets really thin. And so there's this beautiful kind of like ceremonial. But when you're in your follicular phase, you're more insulin sensitive, which means fasting is going to be more beneficial, and doing harder workouts and pushing your body is going to be more beneficial. Whereas when you're in your luteal phase, you're insulin resistant, so it's not going to be as beneficial. But you get to survey whether your stress can handle that kind of intensity.
Yeah.
Bone broth fasting isn't that hard on your system, because you're still getting tons of minerals. You're still getting tons of collagen. You're still getting tons of fat. You know, you're restricting a lot of the food and a lot of the fiber, but you're still giving your body all the electrolytes that it needs, the fat that it needs, and the collagen that it needs. But I love that that was part of your transition. And I know you got to go eat breakfast and that you got a lot out of this, and I appreciate it. But the nutrient dense breakfasts are huge. Like, do not go, do not hold back on breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day, and it'll really set you up for success.
And for ovulation, would you ever fast during ovulation? No.
I don't, because I'm also kind of in a phase of my life where I'm thinking about having kids soon. And it can just, we want to ovulate at the same, like at a similar time, right? We want our body to get used to ovulating regularly and consistently. And when we ovulate, when we fast during ovulation, it can hinder that fertility. And so
Yeah.
if kids isn't really on the table, it wouldn't affect your stress that much, but it would affect the success of your ovulation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I tend to leave it the end of my bleed and the beginning of my end of my bleed, and then my follicular phase.
Before you go, could you remind me how many days ish kind of follicular is and ovulation?
I mean, so everyone's a little bit
Well,
different. The luteal phase is basically set in stone. It's from 10 to 14 days, but most women, it's 12 days. Like after you ovulate, your follicle, which becomes the corpus luteum, only produces progesterone for 12 to 14 days. And so after that, you drop in hormones and you bleed. The follicular is where there tends to be a lot of variation. My follicular phase is about 10 days. So my cycle is a little bit short. My cycle is about 25 days long. So, I mean, every woman's cycle is a little bit different between 25 and 32. But my follicular phase tends to be around 10 days long. So also something that
and your
I
bleed is
really,
like 5 hours and 5 days.
my bleed is 5 days. My luteal is 10 to usually 11 days. And then, yeah, my follicular is 10.
And ovulation? Did you
So
say? I missed that.
you only ovulate for 24 hours. That's like ovulation is like your follicle releases the egg and it travels into your
Wow.
uterus and it stays there for 24 hours and then it's gone. So ovulation is 24 hours. Sperm can live in your uterus for up to 5 days waiting for the egg. So you are fertile for 5 days leading up to ovulation and then 24 hours after you ovulate.
Could you say it again?
You are fertile 5 days leading up to ovulation because sperm can live in your uterus. So there's 5 days where the sperm could just be waiting for your egg. And then you ovulate and for 24 hours and then it's done. You're no longer. Another thing that I really like to do, with my tracking, I have like the date, where the moon is, where I'm at in my cycle, my temperature, what my pussy juices are saying, how I smell, my sex drive. There's lots of things that I track, but I also track my sleep, my hair, my digestion, my energy levels, and these are all markers of health, right? So I have just like a ledger of information on like where I'm at in my cycle, what I ate, how my digestion is, how my energy levels are. So I'm always taking stock. I'm always taking stock of where I'm at. And I think it's just a really beautiful practice just to have this information and start to recognize patterns in
I
ourselves.
want to print it out.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a physical writing person. I know that you put a template. Is that true?
Yeah, there's a template. I also have a cycle tracking journal that I can send you that I really love that you can just order online.
Oh, a cycle tracking journal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
it just comes in a journal and you get one for the year and it's beautiful. It was my first resource in my cycle, on my womb
Wow.
journey.
Okay. So would you advise that, or would you advise me to copy the kind of sheet that you've made and just print that out?
I mean, I'll send you both and you can decide. I really like the sheet that I print out, or I don't print it out, I just use it on my phone, but I like going back and looking over it. And I mean, you can do that with the journal, but I really like, it's so specific to me. So I love to track my smell. My smell gives me so much information. Right. And like
Wow.
in the cycle tracking journal, they don't track your smell. In the cycle tracking journal, they don't track where the moon is in its phases. So that's why I made my own.
That's important.
It's why I made my own, just because I love all of these different markers and all of them really tell me what's going on in my body. And so I'll send you both and you make a decision and try both and see what you like.
I'd like to, yeah. And I also love, for me, tracking my cycle with the moon is really helpful, because I'm going, okay, I bleed just before the new moon. I can at
Yeah.
least warn myself, okay, this is going to be the phase that I'm in. Okay, how can I look after myself? Because on my bleed, if I don't look after myself, my bleed doesn't come. Like
Hmm.
it skips. Like
Hmm.
if I'm too stressed, basically,
If
if
you
I
don't
don't
make the
allow myself
space
to
for it.
rest,
Hmm.
it doesn't. And I remember looking at it and tracking and going, why did I miss that month? And then realizing, hang on a second, there was this one time I missed it and I felt it coming. Like I really felt the whole body. I was like, okay, I'm gonna bleed this week. I know I'm gonna bleed this week. Like I can feel it. And then I didn't. And I was like, what the like why? Like where's it gone? Where's it gone? Does it just absorb back into my body? What happened to it? And like it didn't bleed. It was a 58-day cycle. Like no, not 58 days. Yeah, it was. I didn't bleed in that whole for 58 days, basically. And it was like, so I missed like I missed two cycles in a row. And no pregnant, because I hadn't had sex in that time at all. There was like no chance of that being the case. And I realized that period that I was supposed to bleed, I was in a room filled with men. I was
And it
on a
was just,
craft.
it's not safe. It's not safe
It's
here to
not
come
safe.
out.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It was like, I'm not safe to bleed here. I can't. It's
Also,
not, it's not, it's not safe for me.
I will say that shedding your uterine lining is very rare in the mammalian kingdom. So only a very, very small numbers of mammals actually shed their lining. Most mammals reabsorb it into their body because it's so energy intensive. It takes so much energy that we pour into our uterine lining to then shed. And so a lot of mammals actually reabsorb it because it's so nutrient dense and energy rich
Yeah,
that it's not worth it
yeah,
to shed it and let it go. But it's
yeah.
actually,
That's why they eat placenta.
mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you. I got excited.
No, 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 it's all good. One thing I will say is that I don't usually get a lot of period pain. Like when I bleed, there's a little bit of my lower back gets a little tender. Sometimes I have a little bit of cramping. It's always responding to my environment, but for the most part, I don't really get that much pain. When I flew to Australia the last time I went, I was bleeding and it was the most excruciating pain and cramps that I've ever had in my life. So like my recommendation is always to avoid traveling while you're bleeding in general, but like those energies are so opposing, right? To be like,
Yeah,
you want to be so grounded, you want to be so connected to the earth, you want to slow down, to be like flying across the world at the same time. It was just like my body felt like it was being torn in two. It was so intense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I always want to now write. You've just inspired me to write down all the times that, just if I can remember the most, like I haven't had many bleeds because I've been my bleed, like they've been, yeah, that I can remember, just I can remember my bleeds like
Uh-huh.
every single month or so because I haven't had many.
I
I
have
mean,
a
I'm
bleed.
23.
Uh-huh. I have a bleed journal, which is only when I journal when I'm bleeding, and I write down the experiences of my bleed. And it's just like a whole catalog of each bleed that I've ever had. And it's so good. Like I go back and
This
read
is
it and
what,
I'm just like
yeah,
blown away with
this
what's
is
coming
what this is what I want to do. Yeah, this is what I want, because that's the red temple stuff,
out.
and um it's also what, like ceremonial. Like it came to
Hmm.
me yesterday. I was like, I just want to have a journal just for my bleeds that I can put all
Hmm.
my prints, all my
Yeah.
bleed prints on it, and I can just make art with it, and I can write in it, and I can just
Hmm.
like, it's just my bleed journal. Like I'm so
Hmm.
excited. I know,
Amazing.
yeah, I'm gonna go and get
A lot
myself
of
one. And
exciting things in the work. Okay, go eat breakfast. I don't want to hold you.
I know,
I told you all the things to do. I can't go do it. Go do it.
I know, but I'm also pulling that because I'm like, oh, but there's so much information I want to know that I haven't known about yet, you know?
Uh-huh. But
So
we're gonna do,
I'll
I'm
wait
doing
till,
a four-part series. You can message me if you have any questions. Save some questions for next week. I'm really excited. Next week, we're gonna talk about maternal lineage and how we inherit minerals and mitochondrial and just like our information from our maternal line, as well as the trauma and how those are interconnected.
whoa.
And so I'm super excited to talk about that. And we'll just
Wait,
dive
so
deeper.
you're
I'll,
gonna
I'll
talk about how mothers would pass. not hormones, but
They pass
efficiency
on
of
they
growth.
pass on their mineral makeup. So we inherit all of our mineral content basically for the first 3 years of life from our mother. And then we also, I'm going to go into so much of just like maternal connections and mitochondria and energy function and how we get our energy from our maternal line. So I'm super excited to talk about that and what comes with that. So we'll explore that next week. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. And yeah, always really appreciate diving in with you.
I appreciate diving in with you too. It's so
Yeah.
fun. Really, really good at me in the journey that I'm on. And yeah, this bleed this month is really intense. I found that you said about like body pains. This month I've had excruciating pain throughout my back, like almost spasming, just consistently lower back pain. Like I always feel like I need to be like this, almost like hunched over. Like it's so I haven't like it's just been, and even the way that I've been sleeping, every time I wake up in the morning, my body's like, ow, ow, ow. So I have to spend like an hour in the morning loosening all the joints because I think I'm sleeping wrong.
Do you take any magnesium?
No, I don't. I started to. I took a little bit, but I
We'll
don't. I need maybe the tablets.
we'll talk about this next week because
Yeah, and also want to take naturally. I don't like. I really don't like taking any form of tablets of any like, even if it's just I would much rather prefer to go to the ground and get it out the ground if I can,
understandable.
or keep it.
80% or darker cacao chocolate is really high in magnesium. There's a reason why we crave chocolate on our bleed. So get yourself, I always, Matt like knows as soon as I'm in my luteal phase, he goes and buys chocolate just to like.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I can give you a list of magnesium rich foods as well. But a lot of your beet greens, a lot of your chard and Swiss chard, kale. They have a lot of magnesium
I've
in
never eaten Swiss chard.
it.
I've eaten kale lots. I don't even know what Swiss chard is.
Okay, well, no Swiss chard then. Eat chocolate, okay?
No, but I want to learn. No, I want to learn. I want to learn. I'm gonna cook Swiss chard. I don't know how to cook it, but I'll figure it out.
Cook it in
That's
fat.
good to know.
That's all I tell you.
Okay, coconut oil or ghee.
Or ghee or butter or chicken fat or
Nice. Okay. Is it like a green?
yeah, it's usually multicolored, but it cooks down kind of like kale or beet greens.
Oh, I
Beet
know it.
greens are really good.
Yeah. Okay, so these are, but maybe that's also why I'm getting so much pain is because there's these foods that I've never been introduced to because my mom was never introduced to them. So I've never actually had them.
Yeah.
Like it's rare. I don't know in Malawi even if they grow them.
It's a whole wide
I
world
don't
out
remember. Wild. Yeah.
there. Yeah.
It's coming. I'm opening up to it. I'm so excited.
Amazing.
And I'm
I'm
excited for
excited
next
for
week
you.
as well.
Okay, I'll see you
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Tuesday mornings work for you?
Yes. Oh,
Cool.
Tuesday morning. What day is today? Yeah, Tuesday morning. Um, hang on. Um, from I know from October that's for me that's gonna change. But up until October
Oh,
that's not. So we have like
yeah.
I'm just gonna start studying in October.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
reassess in a few months, but Monday evenings work for me right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Tuesday morning's really nice. I really like it's been a really good like that's why I was able to show up last week as well.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I plan to keep showing up if you
Cool.
keep showing up.
I'll keep showing up. I'll be here. Even if no one shows up, I'll be here.
Yes. Okay.
That's a commitment I've made
Let's
to myself.
woohoo. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your dedication
Mm,
and um putting energy towards your dreams and your goals.
I appreciate it. Thank you for being so receptive.
And all of your information that you give out, for free. It's like I want to almost pay you. I'm like, how, what? I feel very lucky. I'm like, what? You know? And I'm
I
sure you do. Like,
So what I offer is one-on-one consulting where we look at your minerals. We take a hair sample and we look at your minerals and we study them and we see where you're imbalanced, right? Where your minerals are lacking, where you're not getting enough from your diet, and how we can alter your diet so that you can have more mineral balance and you can have better cellular energy production. And so that's what I do to make money. And this is just what I love to do and offer. And just But if you wanted to work
How
one-on-one, it's a super, super. So your
cool.
your hair has so much information about what's happening in your body. And with my clients, we take about an inch of the top of your hair, just a little bit, a couple different places on your head, and it gets sent to a lab and they study what mineral content is in your hair. And so we look at macro minerals, which are your potassium, sodium, magnesium, and calcium. And those are really important for your stress levels because every time you make cortisol, every time you have, just to keep your heart pumping, you need sodium, right? So that you have all of these minerals that you're constantly using and needing from your environment. And I can see from your hair what you're not getting. So
Mm.
I can tell you, okay, you need to start eating these foods because you don't have any potassium in your system. You
Mm.
used all of your potassium, and a lot of people take supplements and they do diets to get certain foods, but you don't actually know why you're doing it, right? And if we look at your hair, I can see what's happening in your body. The
Mm.
first inch of hair off the top of your head tells me what's been happening in your body for the last 4 months, how you're metabolizing,
Nice.
what you're eating, how you're experiencing
Yeah.
stress and producing energy. So if you ever wanted to work one-on-one with me in that way, I would love to dive deeper into your health and supporting you and, getting to the root of, why your body feels so stiff in the morning. Like as a
Yeah, I would love
23-year-old, it's like there's something not working there, right? There's
yeah.
something going on there if you're waking up feeling stiff every
Hmm.
morning. And we can get
Yeah.
to the root of that. We can look at it. So if that's something down the line you want to do, super, super open to talking to you about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would love to do it. Yeah, I would love to do it down the line. Soon as I get consistency, work, stability, routine.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. First of all, I need to start earning an income, and then, but I would love to as soon as I start earning an. I love spending money because I know that then it flows, and especially putting it to the right places. Like it gives me so much
Investing.
joy because I've been in, yeah, I've been in situations where I've traveled with nothing. Like I've traveled with
Hmm.
$0.
Hmm.
Um, the last time was last year for 2 months. I traveled with literally no money, and
Hmm.
basically not begging, but like receiving. But receiving. It's like I don't have. Oh, sorry, the cat. I didn't have anything to, like. I wasn't in a place that I wanted to work either, and I was in this really big state of like absolute surrender and faith and just a journey of faith. It was like I was like a monk. I shaved all my
Hmm.
hair off. Like it was incredible.
I've been
Um,
there.
yeah, and learned from that. Wow, I love giving. I love
Hmm.
giving with an energy that someone else can use for something else. So, like, um, that thing of like, um, the way that we used to trade. Okay, well, I have a bunch of apples and you have a bunch of oranges. Well,
Yeah.
then I'll give you some apples and you'll give me some oranges. But how about if you don't want apples?
Hmm.
Okay, so great, I get to exchange it for money, and then I can give you
Yeah.
that money, and then you can get a pair of shoes because actually you don't want apples, you want shoes.
Yeah.
And wow, what a blessing it is to have money and to have that thing that equalizes us in exchange.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I really love earning. I really love putting my head down and like,
Hmm.
yeah. And I'm really excited for that to come. Like I'm really excited to start working again, to
It's
earn
coming.
money and to put money towards things like this. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
coming. And then part of the reason why I just give this away for free is because this is what I love talking about. I love sharing with women. I love sharing stories. I love creating community. This is what I'm passionate about. And I just trust that it will pay dividends. Like it will come back to me. And you just saying,
Yeah,
like,
it
I
will.
learned so much from you. I want to pay you. It's like, that's how I want to feel. Right. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't want to feel like
it
I'm
is.
I don't want to feel like I'm manipulating someone or getting them to pay me before I give them anything. I want to give, give, give. And then people want to pay you, right? And just
Yeah.
like creating
I
that
want to pay
environment.
you. I can't wait to pay you.
Right? It's like creating that kind of economy where it's just like, I have the room to give right now, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me.
Me
Woo!
too.
Let's go win the world. Okay.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Enjoy. Lots of love.
Lots of love to you too.
Ciao, ciao. Hey,
Hello.
how are
Are you
you?
talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to
Good.
you.
Okay, cool. I'm Lemorah's friend, and she said, "Hey, come to this chat thing." So I was just kind of like gaining information through listening to you guys, really.
Cool, 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 cool. What's
Yeah.
your name? Is your name Ra?
My name's Zara.
Zara. Cool.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm making some food as I was talking to you guys, and definitely like had a lot of information. So tell me about like what you're doing, and like I haven't got much information about what you're doing. So tell me about
Yeah,
you and what
yeah.
you're
I'll give you the
doing.
rundown. So I just started this community and I've ran a community like this in the past that I charged for. And it was more like a cohort of just
Yeah.
teaching women how to come back into their body. This has been my whole journey. I went through a really intense health scare and I stopped bleeding for about a year and a half. And getting my bleed back was one of the biggest like spiritual awakenings I've ever had, of like coming back into my feminine energy, coming back into my body, realizing how sacred it is. And ever since then, I've just become really, really passionate about health and connecting women to their body. And just this is what I love to talk about. I love to talk about, how to be in our bodies, how to operate, like so much information out there. And we're living in such a masculine world. We're living in a world dominated by the circadian rhythm and the 24-hour cycle and the male hormone cycle. And we've really, as women, just become disconnected from our infradian side, from our feminine side, from our lunar side. And so just making spaces where we can come back to that and understand that and inquire and learn how to come back into it. And so this is a weekly call that we do, and there's a community, so you can join the community. And there's tons of resources in there. And then every week I have a topic that we'll discuss, and women can just come as they please. So previously it would be like you commit for 8 weeks and we go through and then you get sent off. Whereas this is more of like show up when it feels good to show up. If you're interested in the topic, there's no commitment necessarily, except that this is just what we're doing. And so if you want to come every week and join the conversation, or you can't come sometimes, and sometimes it feels right, sometimes it doesn't, I'm just holding the flag. I'm just going to show up for myself. And I'm just going to do this because this is what I love to do. And whoever shows up, shows up. So sometimes there's, 7 women that show up and are really needing this space. And sometimes, today it was just Lemorah and I. And so it just depends on the energy, and it depends on the just depends where everyone's at. But it's just creating a community around just this resonance and this understanding and this frequency, and just coming back into our body.
I love that you show up anyway. It reminds me of Tony Robbins. I don't know if you've heard this part of his story, but before anyone was coming to his talks, no one was coming. And he just went a few times to like do this big talk that he'd been like preparing for everyone. And he gets there and no one comes. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And he does the whole talk anyway. And like, I mean, look at him now. So it worked.
I've made a commitment to myself that I'm just going to do this for 6 months. And my worst fear was that I would hold it and no one would show up. And then on like the first month and a half of doing it, no one showed up. And I was just like, okay, and the worst that could happen happened. And I still showed up for myself. I did the recording. I said what I needed to say. And I was just like, okay, it's not so bad. And then, the next one, 5 women showed up and they had an amazing time. And like even Lemorah, it was just her and I. And she's like, I learned so much. Thank you so much. And it's like, okay, keep going, Emily. Just keep going. Just trust. Trust that. trust that it will ripple out and it will happen. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
It makes ripples, like even if no one's physically there listening, you're still embodying like a really special frequency that's bringing information to women like on a quantum kind of level. So
Exactly.
it's felt, and like the
100%.
person you're becoming as well, because you're just showing up, like now that's impacting the collective.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and even, like my partner, so I do the one-on-one consulting with minerals, and that's how I like make
Yeah, I want to
money,
hear
and that's
about
my
that.
business. But then I run these, women's circles and talks and connect. And my partner said, like, I like the women that you are when you're running these circles. Like your energy
Yeah.
changes. Like the frequency
Mm.
that you hold is different, and I love being with that woman. And so it's just like,
Mm.
okay, like it is making changes in me and my
Yeah.
relationship and all of these different aspects. So it's hard to show up and keep going when no one comes, but I really, really, I'm committed. I'm committing to doing this work for myself. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that for you.
I'm glad
So
that you've joined. You're here.
yeah, well, see, the thing is, like now I know about it, and
Yeah.
because I've met you and stuff, I'm way more likely to actually come because it's in my face, it's personal, and like, oh, Tuesday mornings we learn about stuff from this cool woman who knows, like, you've obviously done so much research on this. I'm like, okay, I just found out a lot more research that I have in years in like a few minutes. So why not come and like listen to this on Tuesdays?
Uh, and I mean, no one teaches us this, right? And so
Yeah, it's crazy.
you really have to seek it out yourself. And I just hit a rock
Yeah.
where I
Mm.
was in perimenopause as a 25-year-old. And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
this is not okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Desperation.
something needs to shift here. I need to learn how to take care of this,
Mm.
and it's
Yes, agreed.
And I think, there's a rise in autoimmune conditions in women
Mm.
because women are living out of sync with their body. We're women living in a man's world. And
Mm.
it's starting to show. Like, yes,
Yeah.
feminism gave us a lot of opportunities, but it
Mm.
also pushed us to this place of like pushing our body to its limits. And what
Yeah.
is
Not
the
listening to.
cost? Like what is the trade-off there? Like, yes, we can do anything that men can do, but at what cost?
Mm.
Right? And there is always a cost, and you're seeing it show up in the medical system. So I feel like
Mm.
there's just a few things that we need to bring more attention to, and so I'm just trying to bring attention to it. And for
100%.
whoever wants to listen, and whoever
Yeah.
wants to it.
Yeah. And like I feel that ignorance is just causes us to be in mass confusion. It's like, what is this body? How does it work? Like, you said we're living in a man's world, and yet most people aren't even aware of this. And it takes so long to even wrap their head around what that even means. Like, living in a
Yeah.
man's world, what does that even mean? I guess, yeah, big part for me
Mhm.
is just not, I wasn't listening to my body for like so long. And now I'm like learning to listen to it.
And like down to the most basic, how I see it is like, a man's hormones, if we're taking it from the hormonal perspective, which
Mm.
are really governing a lot of what we do. Like hormones aren't just something that
Mm.
happen to us and take us over and cause us to bleed. They actually change our energy, they change our metabolism, they change
Mm.
our behavior. They're affecting every part of
Wild.
who we are. Right?
Yeah.
Like they're not just this little thing on the side. And our hormones operate on a 28-day cycle, where a man's hormones operate on a 24-hour cycle. So they're going through
Mm.
the same hormonal cycle every single day, where we have a completely different hormonal cycle depending on what day of the month it is.
Mm.
Right? And so we have been trained to live on this day-to-day basis and show up every day and be consistent. And we're striving for consistency, right? We want to get our
Like,
workouts in and be as productive as we can be. And, it's just not realistic at the end of the day that our bodies weren't built for that.
do you mean kind of like replicating the same day over and over, like very methodical rather
Yeah,
than listening to what that day needs?
precisely. And like, I like to think of my cycle, which governs a lot of what I do, as the 4 seasons. Spring, summer,
Mm,
fall, and winter. And our luteal phase, or our menstrual phase, when we bleed, that's our inner winter. So that's the time
mm,
where we rest, where we contract, where we go inwards. It's not a time to bloom. It's not a time to produce. It's a time to regenerate. And our body is literally going through like a purge process. We're like letting go of everything over the course of the month and we're building back. And so it's a time left fallow. And then as soon as we're done bleeding, it's time to start building again. And so the energy of me when I'm bleeding versus me when I'm ovulating is completely different.
mm,
And learning how to
yeah.
match those energies and attune to those energies and work with those energies, not against them. Like once we work with our body and its cycle and its hormonal fluctuations, everything comes back into balance.
It's so nice to hear that that's possible.
It's totally possible. It's 100% possible. And like I
Yeah.
am literally living proof that it's possible because
Yeah.
hormones were so fucked up. Like I was living
Mm,
so against my body for so long, and eventually my
mm,
body gave in. And the
mm,
body whispers
yeah.
until she screams, right? And my body started screaming at me, and I had to make
Mm,
changes. But
yeah.
there's a lot of things that we can do before that happens, before you get to breaking point.
Knowledge. I
Hmm.
guess it's part of it,
Knowledge is
like learning to
power.
listen. Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And
Do
not
you?
giving our power away either, right? Like we often give our power away to medical professionals and they tell us to go on hormonal birth control to regulate our cycles and we need
Mm,
this medication. And there's so much when you understand the workings of the body and you just start to give the body what it needs when it needs it, then it's not broken. My hormones weren't
yeah.
broken. They were out of balance.
Mm, so true. Do you have any do you recommend any like videos from yourself or someone else like about our cycle? Because like all the words you're saying, like luteal, all this, like it's still kind of foreign to me, really. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I've heard that word, but I don't really know what it means.
Uh-huh. I'll send you a video.
Okay.
Join the community. I'll send you the
Yeah.
link. I'll send it to you right now. Join the community. You just have to make a profile.
Okay.
And there is lots of information in there, in some of the classrooms. So
Okay. Cool.
you can access all of it. And then also when you get on the next call, I'll go over like a little overview with you as well. I just sent
Yeah.
the link in the chat. So if you follow that link, you can join the community and then you can start to do your own research in there. There's
Okay.
classrooms in there. There's areas where I talk about just the breakdown of the cycle because for the longest time, I was like, I really want to know about this, but it was taking too much mental brain power to actually like wrap my head around it. Right?
Mm,
Nice when someone lays it out really clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like I'm already grateful for what you've
Mhm.
researched, what you've been through,
Uh-huh.
and then that you're sharing it with people like
Yeah.
really digestible manner because you've gone through and like got all the information and then
Mhm.
kind of condensing it so I can just
Synthesize
like,
it
take
down.
notes and it's easy.
Yeah. And I'll yeah, go into the classroom and I'll send you where to find it. And then if there's anything that's still not clear, I can go over it on the next call. And we
Okay.
can just make sure you have like that an integrated understanding of it. Because for me, it's like you don't understand anything fully. And I tell this to myself unless I can explain it to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you simplify it down, that's when you really have an understanding of it. So definitely go and check it out. And then if there's anything still unknown, I'll make sure to highlight it because even Lemorah last week was like, hey, can we just walk through like the stages of the cycle and help me understand? And like women just don't know how their
Mm,
body works, right?
legit.
And like knowledge is power.
Yeah. So true. I agree. I'll do a bit of studying on that. And so on Tuesdays.
Yeah, right now it's Tuesdays. I'll probably I'm gonna change the time basically like every 2 months just to make sure like there's 20 women in the community right now, and like Monday or Tuesday morning doesn't work for everybody. So I'm gonna like kind of just change it up just to get everyone and feel what times work best. I really like Mondays. They work good for my schedule right now, but yeah, for at least the next 2 months, it's gonna be on Tuesday mornings for you.
Okay. Is it Monday there for you?
Yeah, I'm in Costa Rica. It's Monday evening. It's almost 8 o'clock at night.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Nice. What brought you there?
My boyfriend.
Oh, of course, classic. How did you guys meet?
We met in Colombia 6 years ago.
Mhm.
He's actually Australian, so
Oh,
not Costa Rican. But
okay.
we met in Colombia 6 years ago, and we had this whirlwind romance traveling in South America. And then he was like, "I'm gonna move to Canada," and he moved to Canada for 3 years. And then he was like, "Fuck Canada, I'm going to Costa Rica." And then came down here, set up his life here, and was like, "Hey, come down here and be with me. Let's build a life in Costa Rica." So last year, I quit my job, had no idea what the fuck I was going to do with myself, have never worked online. I was like completely off
Oh,
grid for the longest time. And I just moved down to Costa Rica with like 10 grand in my bank and just a whole lot of fucking trust.
yeah.
And here we are a year later.
Ooh, and it worked out for you?
Ah, it's working out. It's working out. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not making a ton of money, but I'm laying some really solid foundations to make money.
Yeah,
And yeah, it feels
really.
it feels really good.
Yeah. And you're becoming that version, you
Okay.
know?
I
Yeah,
would
like
never have done this or offered this. Like, this is always what I love to do and love to talk about, but I
mm,
wouldn't. This is the thing that pushed me to like really put myself out there.
so
So
true.
I was in the safety net, the safety bubble of Canada, and so
Mm,
yeah.
interesting. Hey, I would love if you could send me the info about the mineral hair thing that you
Hmm.
do, 'cause I'm kind of interested in seeing what would come up there for me and like,
For
yeah,
sure.
how much
Yeah.
that is and stuff. So,
Yeah, we can also do a call. I offer like a free discovery call for anybody interested in doing that, and where I'll just like go through the process, what I offer, why it's beneficial, why it's important. So if you want to book in with me, I'll send you my website, and you can
yes.
book in a call, and we can just review like what you're looking for, what you're dealing with, all that kind of stuff. But it's such an amazing tool. It's such an amazing tool. I'm doing my fourth test after my health just like totally plummeted. It's been the thing that like really brought me back to balance, and is such an amazing way to just like see the world through mineral health and
Yeah,
understanding where your minerals are at and what your body needs. Again, knowledge is power. So it's just another
yeah,
way to like really understand what's happening in your body.
so true. And how
Yeah.
much is that to get the test done?
So the test itself is $150, and then my time is $100 to review it. So it comes out to be 250.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I like it. I think I will contact you about it at some point. So
Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Emma.
Thank you, Zara. Super nice to meet you. Thank you for showing up, and appreciate your energy,
Yeah.
your enthusiasm.
Yeah. Thanks. It was nice to chat with you and just it was like very personal, actually. Like I was like, oh, I feel like I know you.
That's kind of just how I like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I like it. Yeah. Super nice to,
Cool.
and I also want to know everyone in the community. Like basically when you join the community, I require you to schedule a call with me. And so like we just did our introduction call because I want to know everybody in the community. I want to know where you're at, what you know, what you don't know, what you want to know. And so I feel like I got a really good gauge on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is cool. I'm happy to be a part of this community randomly, and Tuesdays work for me, so I can figure this
Amazing.
out.
I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited
Have
as
a
well. Have a
beautiful
great
day.
week. I will.
Ciao,
Thank
ciao.
you.
Bye.